Hi guys, what's going on? And welcome back to another episode of Total War Arena. So we have got Cynane today, having a look at the archers. So as I'm sure you gathered by now from the last sort of handful of videos, I've sort of been trying to try out all the different commanders. We've done sort of two of the barbarians, looking at Boudica with the war dogs. We did Vercingetorix with the barbarian infantry, and we're now going to have a look at Cynane with the archers with the tier 4 Toxatai. Toxatai? I can go with that. So yeah, I'm trying to try out all the different commanders, get a bit of an overview of all the different units and how they play, and then we're going to be sort of focusing on a few lines and sort of carrying on down a few of the different tech trees, see how we get on there. So these guys, I've actually been really enjoying the archers. I felt a little bit dirty playing them at first because, I don't know, somehow feels a bit mean sometimes, but they are actually seriously a good fun. So we'll have a look at a bit of a replay in a minute, but basically these guys, there's not all that much to upgrade on them. They've got sort of a slight body armor upgrade, but again it's just, you know, +8 body armor on a unit that has no body armor is basically nothing, you know, it makes no difference at all. Other than that, I've got the proper bows researched. We're now on the exquisite archaic bow, which gives increased missile weapon range and damage, which is obviously good for everything, because you can shoot further and hit harder. I am running them with consumables. There's only one sort of permanent consumable, which is Archimedes' Council, which gives your units more acceleration, which not particularly useful, not something I'm particularly bothered about, although maybe very slightly useful if you're trying to quickly change your orientation and get out of the way of cavalry. But the other main one is the missile weapon range, which is useful. Being able to outshoot your opponents, particularly when you're facing off against other archers and you can sort of move up and start getting shots on them before they can get shots on you, that is very useful. So yeah, I certainly would recommend running them with Archimedes' Council, particularly with how much silver you get for games at the moment. I mean, I'm running a massive surplus at the moment, so there's no reason to not be using consumables. Actually, as you can see, the weapons range 95, and I've got +19, so they're +8 is actually not too shoddy when it comes to it. The other options are basically a different variety of arrows. So you've got like bodkin arrows, fly well and penetrate armor better. But I think they do less damage in total. You know, it's increased cutting damage, but reduced armor penetration, so really good against other archers and lightly armored units like dog handlers and that sort of thing. Flaming arrows, I think, do morale damage, and then trial of arrows, yeah, really long range but less damage. So you sort of just get a variety of different things. But each of these, if you take these, have limited consumables, so limited amounts. So when you start shooting, you only get 3 or 4 shots, you know, full loads before they're all gone. So personally, I don't think it's worth the effort, and I like just having the extra little permanent bonuses. So with that said, I think I've waffled enough. Other than to say, Cynane, until you get onto the barrage, not a staggering commander. Rapid advance is obviously nice. It's just a movement speed bonus, 15% movement speed, turn speed, and a bit of acceleration. Hunt. I'm not a massive fan of Hunt. I don't really make use of it very often, whether it's just more my inability to make use of it, but basically it marks and tracks an enemy unit, so if you activate Hunt on an enemy unit, it's visible, even if it goes into long grass. So it could be kind of useful if you see some enemy archers darting into long grass, something like that, or you only briefly catch visibility of someone in long grass. If you can quickly activate it on them, you can then see them for the next 40 seconds, I think it lasts. So it has potential if it can be used properly. So let's hop into a replay and see how we got on. So you join me as we load into the Battle of the Rubicon. So first things first, I just get moving up. I'm trying to sort of keep with some infantry support. One thing I seem to have learnt so far with these archers is you always need to have some infantry support with you, otherwise you can get yourself pretty exposed and pretty vulnerable very quickly. Particularly when there's enemy cavalry on the other team, and if you've got cavalry on your team, the enemy probably have cavalry as well, and if you're not careful you'll get caught out pretty quickly. So I just move up initially to this edge to see if I can get shots on these guys over here, but I can't, I've not got enough range, and I notice these enemy tier 3 infantry seem to be moving up. So they come into range, so we start getting some initial early shots off. It's amazing how much damage you actually do against these units, particularly then when they go and turn your back on you. It seems like to rack up quite a bit of damage against these enemies. Look at that, you know, that unit is down to 2/3 of its health already. You know, so it's very effective if you can get the archers in the right position. So then I realise sort of these guys are running out of range, and I've left myself a little bit exposed, although we have got some friendly infantry moving up with us. So I start to move up with these guys over here as well, to see if we can maybe get some shots on these barbarian tier 4 infantry as they try and rout away. A wise decision in a way on this guy's part, trying to get away from the Roman infantry, although he shouldn't have really stopped there, he should have tried to keep the momentum going. But unfortunately, because he's taking the outside line to try and escape from these Romans, and me sort of cutting up basically the inside line, as it were, it allows me to get into archer range of this guy. Particularly as he keeps stopping in situations like this to try and assess what to do, and I get some nice clean shots on him. And it means I can generally get shots without causing any allied damage at all, because this guy's sort of completely out on his own. Actually, we start to rack up some serious damage pretty early on. We get the occasional hit, we manage to just hit one ally for 90 damage, but the amount of damage we're doing to these enemies, you know, 4,000, 2,000, is well worth what we do in friendly fire. And now we seem to be actually quicker than the barbarian infantry in this case, and we keep being able to advance up, catch up with them, get a shot in, stop to get a shot, and then catch back up again. And potentially again we can cut the corners, you see, whereas this guy's going around all around that side. You see we're back in range, another shot, and it's going to be another 3,000-4,000 damage. He tries to run a little bit actually with harass, which was a good move because he managed to move out of the bulk of damage of range of my arrows. But we'll get another nice shot here in. And we can see it's just going to be a fast amount of damage. Oh, it's going to be a big hit. There, 1,700, 1,100. So, you know, it's probably 5,000-6,000 damage there. And then as he turns his back to me, the damage really starts to rack up. He just can't get out of my range. Now, he probably makes... well, I don't know if this is a good move on his part or not. He plays the Scorched Earth, which prevents the Romans from advancing on him. But it also means he's stopped for longer, and I can continue my fire against him. And look at that, I mean, we've decimated his units from effectively full health, and we've basically killed all of his units. Things he could have done differently were if he'd spread his units out a bit more rather than blobbing. Like I tend to do with cavalry, I tend to blob together, and that means he's really vulnerable to these arrows. In that case, you know, we basically killed 3 units there at the start of the game, and where no one else is really engaged, we've already gained ourselves 1,200 aggression damage, shooting a tier 4 unit, so it's even quite good target, so it's going to give us plenty of points. So we keep moving up. I still hadn't at this point noticed that our base is being captured, and this is probably my main failing of this game. I'm quite regularly pretty poor at spotting. Even though you get the trumpet sound to warn you, I still seem to miss it sometimes. But we're moving to range of these tier 3 Romans who just sort of stood here. They are in Testudo, but we still actually seem to score a reasonable amount of damage against them, considering they're supposed to be in Testudo. And then I think as they turn side on, our sort of damage starts to rock up. But as we get the final particularly loud trumpet, I finally realise that I have been missing out on this and start to rush back. Thankfully, this guy plays an absolutely stunning play and manages to throw some javelins in and get enough of a hit to knock the enemy capture points from our base down. And he does it the same on this side, you know, which is excellent. It's really delaying the capture, which is exactly what we needed. I'm rushing back at this point, trying to get across the river as soon as I can to provide support to our allies getting stuck in the base. And this is my second mistake of the game now. As I'm coming up here, obviously I am basically unsupported because it took me a while to realise, and my map awareness is letting me down because I'm not only am I blobbed together here as I'm crossing this sort of choke point here, but I don't notice the enemy Greek cavalry coming until kind of the last minute. At this point I realise, I start firing. I then think, oh god, I should try and split my units up a bit and try and get my units separated a bit more so that if they charge one of them I can sort of focus in on the centre. But unfortunately, being a bit of a better player, this guy realises that and instead manages to sort of split his units up a little bit more. So he's got one unit on each of my units, so I can't really fight back very effectively. And he really starts to cut me down now. As you can see, he's starting to get a lot of damage on all my units. These guys are down to half health already. You know, trying to fight cavalry with archers is just never going to happen. That's why you need to stay with allied support. One thing you can do is use your focus fire to force your units to fire a shot with the bows rather than trying to fight with the daggers, so that's well worth doing. The cavalry actually then makes a little bit of a mistake here and combines his units onto one to try and get one unit to rout, which is fine, but it means that these units can then start firing on him again. These ones couldn't because they got caught on this one guy here, which is very annoying. But then they finally start firing again, but then he gets out and he hammers me on the way out and absolutely slaughters this unit, which is a bit unfortunate. But this one unit here is still alive and it's still firing and doing quite a lot of damage to them. I know I am causing a little damage to the allied cavalry, which was concerning, but sort of it's outweighed by the fact we're sort of causing 10,000-11,000 damage to the enemy units for only a couple of hundred to our allies. As we keep fighting, I actually cause a little bit more here, and eventually realised that I'm better off stopping now and cease fire to get back moving up to support the base. Thankfully, in the meantime, that I was getting caught up in that cavalry fight, Allies did a good enough job defending the base and actually really managed to stop the enemy on the capture almost entirely, which was really good on their part. So I continue to move up. I continue to lay down a bit of fire into some of these levy pikemen. I accidentally cause a little bit of friendly fire damage there before I get chased by an angry unit of enemy Astarte who try and charge me down. So I'm back on the retreat yet again. But eventually, once these cavalry kill these guys, they realise my need and have very graciously come to lend me a hand. As I see this, I turn around and just get a few shots on these guys, try and cut them down a little bit. I actually end up accidentally causing a little bit of friendly fire here, because it fires right at the last minute when I didn't think it would. But those enemies got cut down, and that was kind of good. So we're still in the game. We've actually caused quite a lot of damage, 2400 aggression damage already, because we actually got quite a lot of damage on those Greek cavalry. Even though they wiped us out 2 of our full units, we're still able to do quite a bit against them. As then looking, it looked like our base was about secure now and the enemy were about dead, so I thought it's better to sort of head back towards our base and see what we could do over there. And get moving with our Greek archers. Yes, unfortunately only down to 1 unit, as I say, because the Greek cavalry took a lot of them out, but still quite an effective unit even with just 1. They still get quite a lot of arrows out of 1, individual unit, so they're still quite an effective battlefield weapon. So I continue to charge down here, not a lot else going on, and basically our units are trying to drive the enemy off their own capture point. So I decided to move into the cap circle both to start to gain capture points, because I think it's worth capping, and to start to eliminate some of the enemy units that are kicking around here. I'm just sort of trying to target enemies that are clear of friendly allies, because I don't want to be causing friendly fire. We start shooting back at our poor original guy as if he's not suffered enough already. This is the guy I was shooting at right at the start of the match, with barbarian infantry, so we get a few more shots on him. Before I realise I'm taking a few shots on these dastardly tier 3 barbarian archers, so let's take them out. We outnumber them sufficiently that we can easily win in a fight, and we just really take them down pretty quickly and pretty ruthlessly with our arrow fire. Just 1 of them left, and then receives a full volley and meets his maker. So then after this I'm just looking at the targets, basically see what I can do. These guys threw some fire in, but they kind of didn't quite get it right and actually caused quite a lot of allied damage onto these friendly pikemen. I saw these enemy war dog handlers made a run. So, well, they're nice and clear in the open. I can get nice clean easy hits without targeting allies. There's no reason to be shooting at these Astarte which are already engaging the levy pikemen, because I'm just going to be causing a lot of friendly fire damage. It's much easier to shoot at targets so I can hit cleanly and try and create a lot of damage to the enemy without killing my own units. At this point though, as the levy pikeman is trying to get back, they create enough of a distance, I felt, and I start to get some shots in. But obviously this whole time I've been in the base, so we're gaining capture points and we take the win. It was a really enjoyable battle, and I was going to say I've been really enjoying these archers. They are pretty good fun to play. I guess things just to watch out for are enemy cavalry, basically. So you want to be trying to stay with enemy infantry. Don't want to be staying with enemy infantry. You want to be staying with friendly infantry the whole time. By staying with friendly infantry, it's very hard for anyone to ever kill you then. As sort of as someone who mostly played cavalry myself, trying to target enemy archers that are staying with hoplites or Roman infantry, that sort of thing, is pretty hard because the Roman infantry will turn on them and cut the cavalry down really effectively. So by staying with allied soldiers, you sort of create yourself as a strong force, and you should be picking that at the start of the match when you're picking your map placement. You should be trying to spawn in near allied soldiers as well. And then it's just a case of watching your friendly fire. Don't forget that your arrows take time to travel, so if friendly cavalry are charging, about to hit a unit of enemy archers, there's no point putting a volley in because you're only going to do 5-10% damage, but then you're also going to cause a massive amount of damage to your allied cavalry. So it's trying to preempt where your allied units are going to be and try to cut down on your friendly fire damage, because it's both good for the team and good for your wallet as well, because you don't get them penalised in your silver and experience from causing lots of friendly fire damage. So I think that's about all there is to say for Cynane at the moment. We'll definitely be having another review video very shortly when I get these guys up to tier 5. And I'm looking forward to giving Barrage a bit of a go. I did get to tier 5 in closed beta, but I sort of really rushed through the low tier archers when I was in closed beta, and I didn't really sort of get the hang of them properly. I've been sort of taking my time and enjoying these guys a lot more, so hopefully tier 5 is going to be pretty good. So thanks for watching, guys. Give the video a like, subscribe to the channel for lots more Total War Arena content, and I shall see you all on the next episode.